Okay, I'm back, and I'm down here. Alright, there you are. Okay, the next step is to add the control horns to the rudder, the elevator, and the two ailerons. I'm going to start with the rudder first. Fortunately for us, the rudder, in fact all the surfaces have tiny little, get closer to them, you can see 3 tiny little marks there. Okay, those 3 tiny little marks are for the servo horn to where it's supposed to be attached. I have my box that I boxed up earlier. Contains my servo horns and the screws. I'll pull out 1 servo horn and 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. Then I'll put the box away and be ready for the next one. Okay. So now I'm going to try these out, and they're directional in that the triangle formed by the 3 holes in the servo horn, that little triangle matches the triangle here. And I also want you to note that, I'll pull the airplane back some more, right here is where the wire comes out for that rudder push rod. So you got to make sure that this goes on the proper side of the rudder. The rudder is going to sit like this. Rudder's going to sit like this. Okay, and that hole is on this side of the rudder, so the servo horn has to be on that side, and that's where the 3 holes are brick marked. So you don't have to worry about lining that up or anything. You know right where to put them. So those holes don't go all the way through, and I think I'm going to drill a pilot hole. So let me get my pilot drill and I'll be right back. Okay, I got my the Zona pin vise, and the size of the hole I need, I got to determine. The screw that I'm using, I don't know the size of it, so I'm going to use a it's a digital caliper. It's made by Darson, and what I'm going to do, turn it on, and the reading is set to millimeters. I'm going to put the screw in the thing, and that tells me that the tells me that the screw is 2.04 millimeters. Okay, and so it's a 2 millimeter screw. I think that was actually in the instructions. So now that I know it's a 2 millimeter screw, the drill bit in this is 1.4. So that's too big. I'm going to take that drill bit out and screw the top here and just pull the drill bit out of the caliper. And I'm going to get a smaller drill bit out of the case that I showed you. And I'm going to get a probably something a little less than a millimeter here. Let's see what we can find here. Okay. And so this tiny little drill bit is 0.64. Small. Let me get a larger one. Alright, that's 0.76. 0.76 will do nicely. All I'm trying to do is drill a pilot hole. I want to leave enough wood, obviously, to have the screw hold. So I'll put the 0.76 millimeter drill bit into the pin vise and tighten it up. Sure, I leave enough to go all the way through. Alright. Okay. So all I'm going to do is take where the 3 holes are going to go and drill a hole through there. One of the other reasons why you want to drill it through is so the covering on the other side has a hole through it. Because once you get over to that covering is tough, and it's nice to have the covering punctured on the other side. Okay, so that's good. Don't need the caliper anymore. And now they've marked these holes where this should go, and it's in a, as far as I'm concerned, a well lined up spot. It's not directly over the gap, but it's directly over where the gap is, comes out, and this line right here on the rudder. So I think that's just fine. I believe they know what they're doing more than I do. Okay, so I got 2 different kinds of screwdrivers here. Just got a standard old precision screwdriver. I always like to test to make sure the size of the bit fits the size of the nut. And the way you do this is there's a top and a bottom side to the opposite side of the horn. So the screw is going to go through the horn that way. You can see this side is, let me see here. Okay, this side is nice and flat. This side has got a few bumps and stuff on it, and so that's going to be the top side, and this side will be against the rudder. All right. So we're going to put this in, start the screw through the horn first, because it's probably not a slip fit. Okay. Matter of fact, I think I'll go ahead and start all 3 screws. That way you don't have to worry about getting them started. Because I've drilled a pilot hole, I can screw these through the horn and leave just a little tip of the screw sitting out. And so I'll start all 3 screws, and then they can match up to the 3 holes in the rudder. Alright. That's interesting. That hole is closed up. That 3rd hole had a small film of plastic on the top and wouldn't allow me to get the screw to start. So we'll just get it in there. Tiny little parts and big fat fingers. Here we go. Now, because this is balsa wood, I'm not going to use the power screwdriver. I'm going to use the hand screwdriver because you're not powering through plywood or anything. When we get to screwing in servos, we'll probably use the power screwdriver, but we'll see how this goes. Alright, so now I'll line this up. Oh, by the way, I did flex these hinges and they flex very well. Nice and dry. CA glue took very nicely. Okay, I'm going to start the one in the back first. I can feel it go in. Just getting it started a little bit. Then I'll side up and make sure the front ones are in the right place. Start them through. I do put my finger on the other side so I know when it starts to poke through. Okay, that one's poking through. Just don't screw it into your finger. Now you can see also why you do this with the vertical stabilizer and rudder not mounted to the airplane, because it'd be kind of tough. Now they're poking through less than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to make sure I got the flat side of this. Put them over the 3 screws, hold it down, and sink her home. Okay, the screws do have a sharp point. I don't want to cut it off, but I may take a file to that sharp point and just dull that point up a little bit. So there's the control horn. Okay, it's on the left side of the airplane, so it's lined up with the hole over here in the airplane where the push rod will come out, and it's also lined up nicely with this line right here. So and those 3 points are sticking out quite a bit, if you can see that. Yeah, so I'm going to take probably a just a metal file and file that down. Okay, I'm back. I have a whole set of these small files, okay, and they do have a hex head on the bottom, and you could put a handle to it, but I don't think I need to. What I'm going to do is just try to file these off a little. And to file it, you just got to hold it nice and flat and just take that sharp tip off. I don't think, I mean, one option would be to cut these off, but I don't think they look so bad, and as long as they don't have a sharp point, I don't think anything's going to hit these, but if I pass by them, they could catch a sleeve or something, so I don't want that. Okay, that's good. So they're filed down so that there's not a sharp point, and I'll probably do that on all of them. Thank you. Okay, the next thing to do is to mount the control horn on the elevator and horizontal stab. Now there are two sides, and the side of the stab that has got this covering removed fits onto here, back into the airplane where the covering is removed, goes like that. And you'll also notice that the control horn has to be on the bottom. So where the covering is moved is the bottom, so that's where the control horn goes. And to show that, I've installed the wire, which is the push rod for the elevator. That long wire is going through a tube all the way through the all the way through the airplane into the cabin here where the rudder will go, or where the elevator will go, elevator servo. So you also have to remember you insert that tube from the back end here, because this end has a nut on it, and that's where your metal clevis will be to attach to the control horn. The other end will have a quick connect on it, and so that'll be fine. So that's going to go like this. That means the control horn goes on the bottom. That means the control horn should go just like that. Okay. There are three little holes there, and it looks like they match up pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and install them. I can see that this one still has the piece of plastic on it. I'm going to just basically hand drill that piece of plastic out. Let me find another hand drill here. Yeah, that'll work, I think. Alright, I'm going to stop a minute, find the right size drill to drill this, because this one's too small and that one's too big. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I have a 1/16 inch bit with a hex on the bottom, and that's going to be just the right size to drill these little holes out. That's just a defect in the how they molded it. It's not a bad defect, but it is a pain, and we'll get that fixed. Alright, done. For some reason, I'm not sure why, but I did. I drilled these out already. I didn't show you. Maybe I didn't need to, but I'm going to do it again. And so you got holes on both sides. That's the bottom. That goes there. Up. And that looks like it's in place. Let's get these started. The screwdriver. And get 3 screws started. Well, it seems that all 3 of these have a slight amount, all 3 of these holes have a slight amount of plastic covering the hole. But we got it going. Okay. You want the point just to come out a little bit, enough to engage the hole. I know what I should use. I should use my tweezers. Hold it better. Maybe we'll get my better tweezers. Be right back. Get my favorite tweezers. Favorite tweezers are these. They you can grab onto something like that and hold it, and then you can just position it, get the screwdriver going where you want it. And start turning. Okay. Third time is the charm. He worked first time. As you can probably tell, I take my time doing things, do it right. Any job worth doing is worth doing right, and right the first time. Okay, get all three started in the wood. Okay, all three are started nicely. That's why it's nice to have those pilot holes. Okay, that one's poking through. That one's poking through. And this one's poking through. Alright, there. Okay, so those three are poking through. Turn them over. And find the flat side of the little keeper on this side. Get those three lined up. Hold it. And start them. Second one, the second screw I'm working on here poked through a little too much. I'm going to back him out a little so I can get the keeper flat on the elevator, and then get him through, and then get the last one through. Okay, so now all three are on the keeper. Okay, so they're through good. You can see on that side the things are poking through well. Flat on this side. Also making sure that the horn is facing toward the front of the airplane and basically in line with the gap between the elevator and the horizontal stab. Okay. I'm going to work on the wing next. I'm going to file those off, but I'm going to work on the wing next, and I noticed something on the wing that you need to see, so I'll be right back with it. Thank you. Okay, I'm back, and this is the right wing, and I want to show you something about it. On the right wing you'll see here's the hole for the servo, okay, and if you look, here is the three little holes for the horn. And so if you see that the horn is offset onto this side of the servo, so the servo arm will be this way, and So you only use one side of the servo arm, and the horn will be right there where the 3 holes are. However, the interesting part is on the left wing. The 3 holes, there's the servo opening, but the 3 holes are over here, and if you can see the 3 holes, they're not spaced right. Okay, the little triangle should have 2 and then 1, and the holes are in the wrong place. So we're going to have to fix that. I will I'm going to set the good one aside because I figure you all will know how to do that, and we're going to see how we fix this one and line it up. That's odd because there's a lot of machinery that makes these things, but that looks like a complete human error. But it's not the end of the world. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see if we can move the camera closer. Stand by. Camera is now moving, and is now closer. Maybe you can see this a little better. What I'm going to work on here. So I'm going to get the good wing and use it as a pattern for the not so good wing. Okay. So if you look at the good wing here, okay, on the good wing of the 3 holes right here, you got the 2 holes and then the 1 hole in back. The hole on my left is directly in line with this side of that servo opening. So I'm going to use that as a pattern to say, where is this horn going to go? So the horn is going to go with 1 hole like that, lined up there, and 1 hole opposite and the one back there. But the other important thing is not only alignment, but how far back this way, how far away from the gap does it need to be. Okay, in this particular case, the 3 holes in the servo horn, those 3 holes right there, are right on the edge of the gap. Okay, so when the servo is neutral, when the aileron is neutral, those 3 holes are right in the center of the gap. So what we're going to have to do is figure out where that is, and so I'm going to take my drill bit here and actually what I'm going to do is get a small clamp. This is a small little clamp, not a lot of pressure, but it will allow me to hold the aileron in a neutral position. So I've got a clamp holding the aileron in the neutral position, and so it doesn't move. Okay. That's good. Now, I'm going to line up the first hole where the edge of this is, edge of the hole where the servo goes. I'm going to slide it back and forth until the 3 holes on the arm, servo arm, are right over the gap. Okay. And then I drill the hole. Okay. I just sort of poked the hole, not drilled it. So I know where the hole is. I'm going to drill through. And out the other side. I can take my clamp off now. And so what I think I'll do is go ahead and just screw that one down, and didn't get my screws out yet. So 1, 2, 3 screws, and there are 3 screws left for the last horn. Goes in the other aileron. So I got 3 screws. I will grab my tweezers and put the screw in the tweezers. Find my hole. See. Okay. All 3 holes in this one are fine, so I don't need to drill those out. Actually, let's see. Let me get that. Where's the other drill bit? Alright, never mind. Do the other drill bit. Don't know. Alright, never mind. Yeah, it'll work. I got 3 openings. Okay, so I'm going to start that screw in this first hole. So in this one hole, let it poke through a little bit, find the hole that I drilled, and that's the hole I drilled right there. In that hole, start it into the wood. Before I sink it home, I'm going to make sure it lines up, and it does. The 3 holes in the horn are right over the gap. Okay, now I'm going to line that up, take my little pin vise and drill the other 2 holes. The old pin vise hurts when you come through. That's alright. Take my second screw, put it in my tweezers, get that screw started. Okay, last screw into the tweezers. Nope, didn't run my hole yet. Okay, so I've got to drill a hole in the last hole here. Okay, and we're going to put the start the third screw. So now I'm going to have all 3 screws poking out the other side. Okay, find the flat side of the keeper. Okay, flat side of the keeper. I will move the airplane up a little bit, move this a little bit so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Alright. So I'm going to hold the keeper on the back side. We don't have a 2-camera system here, so you're going to get to see me screw the front side a little bit. Okay, those aren't all the way home yet. I want to turn it over and show you something. Okay, so the 2 front screws are going through a thicker part of the aileron, and so they're not going to poke through as much. But after you screw all these down, that's why you want to start all 3 and then finish all 3, so one side doesn't get pushed up or held up too high. Okay. Alright, so there's your horn. And if you sight down the line there, getting kind of blurry because it's out of focus, but those 3 holes are right in line with a gap, and I'm going to leave it there. I will do the other wing off camera, and because its 3 holes are correct. So that concludes getting all the servo horns put on. Thank you. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to show you one other little trick I'm going to do here. Where these 3 screws are coming through each of the servo horns, I'm going to take a small amount and of hot melt glue and carefully cover the tips of those so that there's a big glob of hot melt glue. On each one. I'm going to take a wooden stick to get that away. I don't want any of the hot melt glue touching the surface. So I'm just going to let that dry, and that will protect anything hitting the those sharp points, especially on the ailerons, because those 3 points are sticking up on the top side, and so I'm going to cover them all with hot melt glue. Just an interesting little trick. Thank you.